Have I got some games for you? Welcome back to my channel. As you'll see in the title, I am playing Sidisi this time around, and I have 4 games here. I haven't checked them yet to see if they're working. I just recorded them, and let's see what we got going. First game is Sidisi versus my opponent, EDH player. Well, that is an accurate name. Playing Xenagos, God of Revels. A little bit of a slow hand, and Xenagos can really come out of the gate quickly with mana dorks. And if they get Somberwald Sage on turn 2 off a mana dork, I'm most likely just dead to the Somberwald Sage. That's the Gilded Lotus for creatures that only cost 3 mana. It's a very good mana accelerant in these creature-heavy builds. So I decided to pitch this hand back. If this was a green sun, I would have kept this instead of the Dryad Arbor, because then I could go get the Dryad Arbor. But a hand devoid of any ramp, a regrowth that gets me nothing, and a capture that I'm not going to be able to cast for quite a while, there's no sense in doing this. So back into the deck. And you'll see a new inclusion in the list, Demonic Tutor. Among a few other ones, I have updated the tapped out deck lists, and with any cards that I've just picked up, you'll see some of them in these games. All right, Demonic Tutor. I'm going to keep that. Put Jace on top. I decided to put it on top because I have this Sylvan Library, and I have Demonic Tutor to find blue if I need it. Lead in the Swamp. I don't want to get my Bayou wasted. Play the Bayou. Play Sylvan Library. Take obligatory 8, Mana Confluence, Mana Crypt, and Sidisi on turn 3, just like it's drawn up. And this, if you're familiar with my decks prior to this video, I guess, was not in my collection either. Picked up a couple of the duels, and it feels really good. There is a stark difference from playing with and without duels in these decks. The mana just feels so much smoother. I no longer I've cut, I believe, every ETB tapped land out of this deck. There may be one, I think, still remaining, but Sidisi is all about speed now, and it just feels so incredibly satisfying for this perfect mana to be able to move a little bit faster. So I'm going to push cards back on top because Sidisi will clear them for me. Llanowar Birds. Now I could have kept the birds here, or sorry, Forest, Venser, Llanowar. So I didn't know about the birds. There was no interest in keeping Llanowar. It's possible that I should have for an additional green source, but I have the regrowth for later. I'd rather not take the damage, especially when Sidisi lets me clear them anyway. Alright, Jace comes down. Brainstorm, push back some cards, play Llanowar Elves, or Fintorn Elves, same thing. My opponent, gonna make some costs. Are we bugged? I don't think we're bugged. Let's see. Jump to the end of turn? No? Oh, there, they concede. Oh, yeah, we did bug a little bit. So my opponent played Xenagos this turn, I believe. Did they? I think they played Xenagos. Yeah, they tapped out, played Xenagos, and so they played land, Xenagos, went down to 6 cards in hand. I untapped, attacked with Sidisi, hit nothing, slammed Sadistic Hypnotist, and tore their hand apart. Then Jace started to Fate Seal, and the game was over. Alright, on to the next one. And these aren't remarkably good games, but I wanted to show just how good this new mana feels. Let's see, Jack Ben maybe? Yak Ben maybe? Jack. You're gonna be Jack, sir. Or madam. Alright, so Zada Hedron Grinder, and I immediately am expecting Token Swarm with the Whim of Fate's Flip 3 Coins card that deals it's like draw 9, deals 10 damage or something if you get 3 heads. But you have to deal damage to a creature, so you target one of your own creatures, you get 30 shots at it. It was a thing at some point. I think when Zada was spoiled, that was the plan. Make a ton of tokens and flip a bunch of coins and dome your opponents for a ton. Alright, so I see a very capable first hand. I have 2 color fixing sources. I have Go for Those to deal with an early Zada. I have 2 tutor sources. Absolutely what I want. Interaction, ramp, and card selection. They have, to their credit, turn 1 Soulring off a very good looking mountain, in my opinion. Although, it's just a stream. Lauren's got some strange lore, for sure. Alright, turn 2 Zada. Feels good. I'm gonna get the Bayou and push Sakura Tribe's Elder out. And I get the Bayou because I want to make sure that I have a black source. And I'm going to need double black before I need double blue. So I'm going to get the black first. Crack for a blue. Play a green source. Drop Sidisi into play. And I get a zombie by throwing away Elvish Mystic. You'll see I've added the City of Brass to this deck as well. I know I haven't played Sidisi in a while, so it's worth noting some of the slightly older pickups that have just been recently updated into the list. Trinket Mage for the Crypt, and I'm going to sit on Go for the Throat here if they target Zada with some big spell. The Kiln Fiend makes me immediately think that they're going with some Temur Battle Rage style deck, that they want to dump a bunch of pumps onto their creatures, give them double strike, trample, haste, shenanigans. So I'm going to kill Zada for the tempo play, knowing that I have one of the favorite things that I can do with Sidisi right here. Crashing with everything, my opponent wisely does not block. Unfortunately, I don't hit a zombie, which would have been the best situation there. Birthing Pod, Pod Sidisi, into the Hypnotist. Hypnotist, their hand away. And that's really one of the reasons that I like Sidisi, is that she fuels Hypnotist's ability, and Hypnotist is one up the pod chain from Sidisi. And throwing Sidisi away doesn't feel that bad to pod up to her, to the Hypnotist, because this doesn't cost me a card. I can replay Sidisi for more value. Then I can continue the Hypnotist shenanigans, or I can pot away one of the zombies if I so choose. So this interaction between these 3 cards here is one of my favorite things in this build in particular. And honestly, these games can really showcase how good Sadistic Hypnotist is. I got rid of Brute Strength, Rouse the Mob, Rush of Adrenaline, +2/+1 trample. Chancellor of the Forge, I'm guessing that's just for the tokens. And Skittering Invasion, just for the tokens. I got rid of a lot of good stuff here. My opponent was going to be 1 mana off of Skittering Invasion, making 5 tokens, then playing Zada. So I'm in good shape. Lose a dice roll. I do not draw Baleful Strix here, and you'll see how I'm tapping my mana. You'll get a better idea of what I'm actually doing. So I'll jump to the end here. Alright, so I did not draw Baleful Strix. I drew Acidic Slime, and I Acidic Slimed their Solvering. Destroy, so 1, 2, 5. Yeah. I think I did get this. Yeah. Did I play Solemn this turn? Maybe I played Solemn this turn. Sorry, this. Yeah, so that's what it was. I named. I think I probably drew land. So I put Solemn into play. And then maybe it was nothing important at all. Put Solemn into play, went and got a Swamp with the ability. And then used Sadistic Hypnotist, sacrificing. Oh no, potted Solemn into Acidic Slime to destroy their Soul Ring. Drew me a card. That's why I drew a card here. And then sacrificed Acidic Slime to get rid of the last card in their hand. And left them with Zada plus Kiln Fiend plus nothing. And then the game, they conceded on their following turn. under the unrelenting pressure of sadistic hypnotist beats. I think I played Bloom Tender this turn also. Yeah, that mana's right. This wasn't that. Half penny bot. All right, on to the next game. Well, match in this one against Burn in Fetty. All right, game 1. And to their credit, I think Burn has a much better deck than is showcased here. Mull to 5, and you'll see another new addition to the collection, Gaia's Cradle. I finally picked one up. It dropped enough that I felt comfortable spending some money on it, and I've been wanting it for Yusun for a while. I have another multiplayer-only deck that I've been working on, and that deck absolutely needs Cradle in it, so I decided to finally pick one up. But I got three and a half decks that it's just gonna go in, and I think it's a good investment at this point. So I see this hand, it didn't have the City of Brass. I think it was these 4 cards. So I got Interaction. I have potential Explosion if I get like Mana Dorks, but I don't feel comfortable going down to 4 in a 3-color deck. Even though my curve's very low, I just can't do it. My opponent is playing Rafiq of the Many. They go down to 5 as well, and they have Land, Soul Ring, Sensei's top, Activate top. God, that's gotta feel good, right? You'll see how it feels for them. So I'm going to lead City of Brass, bluff a blue, Bismail Plains. That is not Rafiq on curve. They needed a different color source. I pick up Mana Crypt. I know now. Here's the kicker. So I could give them a beast here by killing the Sol Ring, but I might lose to my own beast. I'm not really worried about Sol Ring. I'm worried about them getting colored sources and putting Rafiq into play, because I'll lose to Rafiq in, I think it's 2 hits, because he goes up to 4, doubles to 8, and then he goes up to 3 hits. Short of any other effect, I think any effect kills me. Any pump on him, any pump 1 or pump 2 on him, I'm dead in 2 hits. Pardon me. So I'm more afraid of them getting a colored source. Actually, this Sol Ring's not doing them anything. They're feeding. It was wasted this turn. It was just fed into a top. So I'm going to sit back on this Mana Crypt here. My opponent plays a 3rd Plains, Odric, which must have been top decked, I believe, because otherwise it would have been played last turn. Oh no, they played Mistveil Plains. That came in tapped, maybe. Yeah, that must have been it. All right. So I'm going to lead Mana Crypt into Sidisi. Get some value going. And just like that, Gaia's Cradle's turned on. And wow, just Rainbow Lands do some incredible work in a 3-color deck. Who knew, guys? Who knew? All right. But now Gaia's Cradle is an Ancient Tomb for me, because Sidisi is generally worth more than 1 creature. And my opponent goes Aegeus of the Gods. You have Hexproof into Intrepid Hero. And this, when I see the Aegeus of the Gods, I can understand, and some Carador decks definitely play it. But Intrepid Hero seems very off. So this is when I immediately thought it's not as good a Rafiq deck as I was expecting. But I think my opponent's a smart player, and they're a fantastic sport also, which is sometimes hard to find. That the one nice thing is that I'm not playing Counterspell deck, so I get less people scooping to Sidisi than I do when I'm playing Azami or Widwin for sure. So I'm going to kneecap the mana, let my opponent get their Odric trigger. No attacks yet. And I'm just building up Gaia's Cradle because I want this to be a valuable Yogg's Will here. Another new addition to the collection. God, that's fantastic art. It just looks so good in the VMA. Alright, get no hits. I was hoping to get a hit. So we'll trade for Odric. Recast. I'll tap it on tap for a sec. Recast Sidisi. Finally get a zombie. My opponent still has not hit a 2nd color of mana. Pick up land, And I don't play it yet because I think this is going to be my Yogg Will turn. Crashing with Sidisi, they don't go for the double block. Of course, I don't get a zombie to increase my Gaia's Cradle power. I mean, how greedy can I really be? It's tapping for 5 right now, and I wish it would just tap for 6. I'm really greedy, definitely. Yogg Will, and so this is why I didn't play the Land War Waste, is because I was planning to use Yogg Will and play a land from the grave. Conveniently have this nice land. I could have gotten the Mana Confluence, but I'd rather pay 2 now and not have to keep paying life, with City of Brass continuously hurting me and Mana Crypt. Overgrown Dream's fine. The deck isn't as heavy on blue as you think. I'll pull up deck list after the games. Deathrite Shaman, Fenhorn Elves, and I play both of them off the Elvish Mystic Forest because they are mana neutral because I have a Gaia's Cradle in play. Nissa Vastward Seer, get a land for later, play Sylvan Library, and slam Chains of Mephistopheles, another new edition, into play. An extremely expensive card in paper, relatively cheap on MTGO. So the way that Chains works, if you want to pause the video and read that block of text, fine. Here, I'll pop that up. I'll explain it as well. If an opponent draws a card other than the first card they draw during their draw step, and if an opponent draws in a card for any effect, not any game rule, basically, they must first discard a card from their hand. If it's not optional, they have to discard. Then if they have discarded a card, they get to draw a card. So all draws become rummages, which is a huge downgrade. Now, if they fail to discard a card from their hand, meaning you have them hellbent, they do not get to draw a card. They skip that draw, and instead they put the top card of their library into their graveyard. The Sidisi deck wants to operate in that sort of vacuum space where I only have 1 or 2 cards per turn, and my opponent only has 1 or 2 cards that they have access to per turn. It's a fantastic spot. So I've included Chains in this deck because not only does it feed the control of the board that they need to draw extra cards to get out of, and Chains stops that, but it also can feed Sidisi by when I get hellbent by milling the top of my deck into my graveyard and creating zombies for me. I've cut Standstill for the Chains of Mephistopheles, actually, and I think it's going to be a good inclusion in the list. I've been very impressed with the 2 times that I've resolved it so far. My opponent gets their island, so now I have this Beast Within target. Get the Reclamation Sage. Oh, I did not get Reclamation Sage there. That was not my play. All right, so seems we have more bugs going on with MTGO. So I crashed in the red zone, got a zombie, Beast Within the island post-combat. They blocked Sidisi, went down damage. I Beast Within Sensei's top. Yeah, that was it. I killed Sensei's top because I figured that they would activate top in response as a gut reaction. Meaning that they Beast Within fizzles, they don't get a beast because the target is no longer legal. And also, they have to discard a card from their hand because of Chains of Mephistopheles. This draws a card outside of the normal draw step. So they're discarding a card from their hand to draw one off the top by putting this on top of their deck. And this is a great shutdown. Now, I know this is a Nombo Sylvan Library Chains. I played Sylvan Library because, A, I have the mana. I wanted to get the value from my Yawgmoth's Will anyway. And B, if they destroy the Chains, I want Sylvan Library going for me and getting some card selection. So might as well play them both. So they activated top, they drew, they pitched Survival of the Fittest. And I milled a Cabal Therapy. Then on my next turn, the one card that I was potentially afraid of was Sower of Temptation. So I crashed in with Sidisi, then flashback Cabal Therapy, naming Sower of Temptation, and saw tap blue Greenland, tap blue Greenland and Rampant Growth. I killed tap blue Greenland, or that was fine. They play tap blue Greenland, they replay top. I used Dread Return to bring back Acidic Slime that had died to something. I'm not sure which. And then I used Acidic Slime to target top again, and they were forced to pitch their Rampant Growth because it was non-optional, and that was the end of the game. All right, on to the final. You already know that I won the round. My opponent keeps their 7. I keep my 7 as well. I need some green mana, but I can definitely get there. 1 green mana will get me an additional green mana, so I feel good about this hand. I have Yawgmoth for late game, Nature's Claim for early. I have one of my best turn 2 cards if I can play it on turn 2. So I'm definitely going to keep the hand. Let's pop out the commanders. Chat. Yeah, we were going back and forth for a while about Momir Basic. Just chatting about it in between games. MTGO is still currently bugged with their goddamn submit button for EDH games. So please submit tickets. If you play on MTGO, submit a ticket that the button in EDH matches to submit deck is not working. It is not turned on. I don't know what issue they have with it, but they need to fix it. And I don't think they're prioritizing it enough because not enough people submitted tickets. Just like a champ, I draw green mana on curve. So I have 2 options here. Slam Sylvan or put Ramp into play and have turn 3 Sidisi. What do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to put Ramp into play. And I'm going to put Ramp into play in the form of Birds of Paradise instead of this Elves of Deep Shadow. My opponent mills an Acidic Slime with this ability. Domes me for 6. Pretty good. Plays Forest. And the Slam Sylvan Library. Instead of playing Sidisi here, I decided that I want to take this turn to develop my board more. Get Sylvan Library down. Get an additional piece of ramp. Because I don't have a land this turn, I'll still be able to play Sidisi next turn. They may have Rafiq, and I may have to find an answer to that. But this also turns on the ability to play Sadistic Hypnotist on my turn as well, if I so choose. Soul Ring and no follow-up play. Activate. Domes me for 2. It's my Brainstorm and the Dryad Arbor. Demonic Tutor, Yavi Elder, Flutterstrand. Take the obligatory 8, Flutterstrand, and this was just a gut reaction. I grabbed the wrong land. I meant to click Breeding Pool. Or no, was it Breeding Pool? No, sorry, it was it was Breeding Pool because I have to get the blue source. I wanted an additional green, but I think I was too focused on my hand and thinking that I needed more black sources, forgetting that I have the Elves of Deep Shadow. So I'm going to get rid of that Soul Ring while I have the option. And I'll tap and untap like a champ. Play the Sidisi, and this is when I realized that while I was doing that tapping and untapping, I realized I could have gotten this tapped instead and only taken 1 damage this turn. I'm not really representing much by leaving a black mana open. Now, I'm expecting my opponent to activate Mind Shrieker before they block, hoping to mill something and then being able to block and kill Sidisi. So I make an interesting play here. So I'm going to put back Glenalandra. I don't feel that I'm going to need it this game. And then I put back Vampiric Tutor because I have a feeling that my opponent's going to activate Mind Shrieker in response to my Sidisi trigger, thinking that I put some big creature on top of my deck to mill away. But I've next leveled my opponent a little bit, and they comment on it in the chat. Nice hit was the Acidic Slime. Activate that. See myself loot. So they milled my tutor. They got a 2/2 or +1. I milled Glen, Chains, and Bloodstained Mire. I was anticipating that, I said to my opponent. 1 LOL /. Alright. My opponent, me. I play the Yavi Elder and crack it immediately. Get some forests. And now I feel much better about my mana situation. The problem has been solved. Or well and truly solved. Alright, here we go. And this is the turn that I sort of go crazy. So I play Demonic Tutor as a bait spell here because my real goal is resolving this Sadistic Hypnotist once again to tear apart my opponent's hand. They're so screwed on mana. I know this is going to be a good play. Play the Hypnotist. They spend their counter on my tutor, and I get to rip their hand apart, sacrificing everything. Thawing Glaciers, fine by me. See stuff that I don't want, put it back on top, Sidisi it away. Get a Deranged Hermit, meaning making a zombie. And now I purposely put the Duress on top, knowing that they were going to activate again. And I wanted to trade Mind Shrieker, my Sadistic Hypnotist for Mind Shrieker. It's in their interest to kill this because they have Thawing Glaciers going. And honestly, I don't want Mind Shrieker sitting on the board. I'm doing a lot of damage to myself with this Sylvan Library. I don't want them having a potential gigantic source of card advantage, or damage, not card advantage, sitting over here on their side of the board. So I wanted it removed, and I offered the Sadistic Hypnotist trade. And my opponent graciously accepted. Alright, so this was the Yogwell turn. You'll see it's over there. So I cast Animate Dead out of my yard, targeting my opponent's Grand Arbiter. It's interesting that it shows up on my opponent's side temporarily. Get a Grand Arbiter, cast DT out of my graveyard, and here is the remainder of the deck. If you want to take a look, pause the video. I'll give you a sec to think about what I'm going to get. Here's the graveyard. Don't forget about this. So, there's one card that I know will lock the game down. My opponent's empty-handed. They're a lot of bit constrained on mana. How do I leverage this to my advantage? Well, there is a 4-mana card. A little bit of a hint. It's blue. Huge hint. Opposition, but it's stuck in the graveyard. So I'm going to get Regrowth with my Demonic Tutor. I'm going to Demonic Tutor for a card in my graveyard for next turn. My opponent activates Glaciers, gets a Plains, ships the turn. Push the Bayou to the top, attack with Sidisi, get a zombie, cast Regrowth on opposition, tap 3 for opposition because of Grand Arbiter, overtap a little bit for Trigon Predator, he only costs 2, my bad. Upkeep, tap them all down, and I tell my opponent, this is game here. Or when I cast Regrowth targeting opposition, pop it out. Say, here's the game. Because there's very little that they can do to come back from Sidisi opposition locking them. And I mentioned that I have Dread Return for the Sadistic Hypnotist in my yard. And my plan was to just cast Dread Return for the Hypnotist. Hopefully I'll hit some more stuff with Sidisi. Attack, crack down their board some, sacking away, or crack down their hand, sacking away 2 zombies, and then tap all 4 of their lands in their upkeep. They would no longer have Thawing Glaciers going. They'd have no lands in their upkeep. They would only have a Swing card in their hand, and then I can keep Sidisi fueling that tap down every single turn. The game was well and truly over at that point. Hope you guys enjoyed this series of games. I certainly enjoyed, making the edits to the deck, picking up the new cards, and playing these games. Big shout out to Burnin Fetty, great sport. Had a lovely conversation. I hope to see him across the table, or him or her across the table some other time. Maybe in Momir Basic as well. They said that they were going to check it out. Alright, see you on the next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. And let me know in the comments down below what misplays I made that I didn't talk about. What do you want to see next? And what do you like about CDC? Do you like the changes I made? And the deck listed will be down there as well. Have a great one, guys.